Hello everyone, welcome to our class in science. So I am your teacher in Science 7. According to the Department of Education, the most essential learning competency for week 1 is describe the components of a scientific investigation. So our topic for this video is all about the scientific investigation process. So in this chapter, we will embark on a thrilling exploration of the scientific investigation process. Scientists use a systematic approach to investigate the world around them, and we will learn the essential steps involved in conducting a successful scientific investigation. So, put on your thinking caps and let's dive in. So, you can see in your screen the importance of scientific investigations. So, first is that scientific investigations play a crucial role in expanding our knowledge and understanding of the world. Second, they help us uncover new facts, test hypotheses, and solve complex problems. Third, by following a systematic process, scientists can gather reliable data and draw valid conclusions. Then fourth is that this methodological this approach ensures that their findings are accurate and can be replicated by others. Now, without much further ado, let's proceed to the steps of a scientific investigation. So we have the step 1, identify the problem or question. So every scientific investigation begins with a problem or question. Scientists carefully define what they want to investigate and what they hope to learn from the study. So this step sets the foundation for the entire investigation. So you cannot start with your investigation without first having this first step, which is identifying the problem. You should be able to ask a question about a problem. Second step is conduct background research. So before diving into an experiment, scientists gather information about the topic they are studying. They review existing literature, consult experts, and explore previous studies. So this background research helps them uh, uncover the existing knowledge, identify knowledge, then gather, design, and inform experiment. So in conducting background research, um, you have to visit a library, for example, or visit the internet so that you can gather information. Then we have the step 3 of the steps of a scientific investigation, which is formulate a hypothesis. So what is a hypothesis? So it is defined as an educated guess or prediction about the outcome of an experiment. It is based on the information gathered during the background research. Scientists develop a clear and testable hypothesis that can be either supported or refuted by the experiment. So hypothesis is a wise guess, no? So it is not necessarily the correct answer, no? It can be refuted by the experiment. After the experiment, it can either support or not support. That's refute. And the fourth step of the steps of a scientific investigation is the design the experiment. So this step involves planning the experiment carefully. Scientists define the variables involved, establish control groups, and determine the methods and materials needed. The experiment should be designed in a way that allows for accurate data collection and analysis. So in this step, you have to identify the control group. When you see control group, so it's the group that is not applied by the variables that you are going to use. So you have to identify as well in this step the independent and the dependent variable. So when you say dependent variable, so we are going to uh, dive to that topic in our next lesson, next video, no? Because it needs to be, what's this, focused. All right, so anyway, since we are here, let's have an overview of the difference between the dependent variable and the independent variable. When you say dependent variable, it depends on the outcome of the independent variable. So, for example, if you are measuring how the amount of sunlight affects the growth of a type of plant, the independent variable is the amount of sunlight. You can control how much sunlight each plant gets. The growth is the dependent variable. So that's the overview of the difference between the dependent variable and the independent variable. Then we have the fifth step, or step 5 of the steps of a scientific investigation. It's collect data. So in this step, scientists carry out the experiment and collect relevant data. They follow the experimental procedures meticulously, record observations, and measure any changes or effects. It is crucial to gather data in a systematic and precise manner to ensure reliable results. So in this step, we can see tables, tabulation of data, for example. Then we have the step 6. Okay, analyze the data. So once the data is collected, scientists analyze it using statistical methods and other appropriate techniques. So they look for patterns, trends, and relationships among the data that can help answer the research questions and can either support the hypothesis. So clear and logical data analysis is essential for drawing meaningful conclusions. So this is an important step as well. Anyway, all the steps of the scientific investigation are all important. Then we have step 7, draw conclusions. So based on the data analysis, scientists draw conclusions regarding the research question or hypothesis. They evaluate whether the data supports or contradicts the initial prediction, the one we mentioned a while ago, the hypothesis. So the conclusion should be based on evidence and be free from personal bias. So when you say personal bias, So if, for example, you really like that thing, so you are going to um, impose that that should be the conclusion. No, it should be free from personal bias. So in this part, you can either support the hypothesis that you've mentioned in earlier, or refute it, not support it. It's okay. That's part of drawing conclusions. Then the eighth step is communicate the results. So the final step involves sharing the findings of the scientific investigation. Scientists write research reports, present the results at conferences, or publish their work in scientific journals. By communicating their findings, scientists contribute to the collective knowledge of the scientific community and allow others to build upon their work. So in the perspective of the students, so you can communicate the results by presenting it during science exhibit, for example. So in science, we have science exhibit at the end of the school year. Yeah, we did it at the end of the school year, last school year. So you can have that this step communicate the result by presenting it in the exhibit, science exhibit. Now let's proceed to the example. So it's not right that I just keep on stating those steps without showing you an example. So let's have here an example titled Investigating Plant Growth Under Different Light Conditions. So let's apply the different steps. So let's apply the different steps of a scientific investigation in this scientific investigation, which is investigating plant growth under different light conditions. So step one, which is identify the problem or question. So this is an example. A group of 7th grade students noticed that plants in their school science lab grew differently under various lighting conditions. They wanted to investigate how different types of light, such as natural sunlight, fluorescent light, and LED light affect plant growth. So their main question was, how does the type of light source impact the growth of plants? So you have now an example of your step one. Now let's proceed to step two, which is conduct background research. So an example is that the students conducted background research by reading books, articles, consulting their science teacher, and studying textbooks. Now they learn about photosynthesis, the role of plant growth, and existing studies that explored. Okay, so they learned it by reading different articles, books, etc. Then step three, formulate a hypothesis. So after conducting their background research, the students formulated a hypothesis that goes, plants exposed to natural sunlight will exhibit the highest growth rate compared to plants exposed to fluorescent light or LED light. So that is their hypothesis. So that's an example. Then we have four, design the experiment. Oh, I cannot see here. Anyway, I'll just give you the copy of this slide. Just, you can message me, you can message me. Step 4, design the experiment. The students design their experiment. This is an example. The students designed their experiment by selecting three groups of identical plant seedlings. So this is very important in having a scientific investigation, no? So fair test, the term is fair test, identical plant seedlings, no? So example, bean plants, and placing each group under different light sources. So group A under natural sunlight, group B under fluorescent light, and group C under LED light. So they ensure that all other conditions are the same, such as the temperature, the soil type, the watering schedule, I think, were consistent for all groups to eliminate uh, not conforming of the fair test. No, that's the term. It should be fair test. Your experiment should be a fair one. Fair test, I mean. So ensuring that uh, all the other variables are the same, no? The same. So that's step 4 example. Let's proceed to step 5 example. So, which is collect data. Over a period of 4 weeks, the students regularly measured the height and number of leaves of each plant in all 3 groups. So they recorded their observations in a table to keep track of the growth progress for each plant. So take note, they have already a table in this step. So this is an example. Step 6, analyze the data. This is an example. After the experiment concluded, the student organized and collected data and analyzed it using statistical methods. So they plotted graphs to visualize their growth trends. All right, so in this step, you can see graph, no? Graph, plotted graphs. In step 5, it's the table, tabulated data. In step 6, we can see graph already. Then we have step 7 example, which is draw conclusions. So based on their data analysis, the students concluded that their hypothesis was partially supported. Plants in group A, which has natural sunlight, did exhibit the highest growth rate as expected. However, group C, having the LED light plants, showed a slightly better growth rate than group B, which has the fluorescent light plants, contradicting their initial hypothesis. So that's their example, our example for step 7. Let's proceed to our example for step 8, which is communicate the results. The students prepared a research report summarizing their experiment data and conclusions. They presented their findings to their classmates and science teacher in a presentation. Additionally, they created a poster to display the results during a school science fair, allowing other students and visitors to learn from their scientific investigation. So that's what I told you a while ago. Now, I'd like you to do this students activity titled Investigating the Effects of Fertilizer on Plant Growth. So your time starts now. I will show you the answers after 10 minutes. Can we do it? Okay, 10 minutes. So you have 4 minutes left. So the instruction is to enumerate your or apply the different steps of the scientific investigation that we have just discussed using the title Investigating the Effects of Fertilizer on Plant Growth. Last 1 minute. Alright, so now let's proceed. So here, please check your answer if we have the same. Anyway, this is just a reference, so as long as you had the idea is the same, your answer is correct. So again, the title of our scientific investigation is investigating the effects of fertilizer on plant growth. So step 1, identify the problem or question. So your problem or question should go like this. How does the use of fertilizer affect the growth of tomato plants? Again, it should be, how does the use of fertilizer affect the growth of tomato plants? So take note, the title of our scientific investigation is Investigating the Effects of Fertilizer on Plant Growth. You can use any, or you can mention any other type of plant besides tomato plants. So how does the use of fertilizer affect the growth of eggplant plants, for example, or how does the use of fertilizer affect the growth of potato plants, for example. So tomato could be replaced by any other plants. Take note of that. Step 2, conduct a background research. So before starting the experiment, of course, you do your research. Conduct research on the effects of different types of fertilizers on plant growth. So consult gardening books, online articles, and ask a local gardener or horticulturist for more information. No? Then step 3, formulate a hypothesis. So depending on what plant you are investigating, so if what I have mentioned a while ago, it's tomato, the hypothesis should go like this. If tomato plants are provided with a suitable fertilizer, then they will grow taller and produce more fruits compared to tomato plants without fertilizer. So, or you can again replace tomato with any other plant that you like. Step 4, design the experiment. So, example is divide the tomato plants into two groups. Group A will be the control group. So when you say control group, it will receive no fertilizer, no? Then group B will be the experimental group and will receive a suitable amount of fertilizer. So both groups will be given the same uh, amount of sunlight, water, and soil type. This same plant, no? Same tomato plant, for example. So that is a step 4 example, step 4 answer. Step 5, over a period of 4 weeks, observe and measure the height of each tomato plant in both groups every 3 days. Also, count the number of fruits produced by each plant during the experiment. So in this step, you can show a table, no? Table. So you are going to enumerate group A, group B, then that's for the first column, for example. Then the second column, so you're going to mention the height, no? Height of each tomato plant. Then, yeah, height of each tomato plant. Then under the second column, you are going to subdivide it further into checking it every 3 days. So, first day, second day, third day, no? Then, number of fruits as well will be counted, no? Included in the table. So, that's step 5. Step 6, but anyway, this paragraph going back to step 5 is enough, no? You can receive a correct mark for this answer already. Step 6, analyze the data. So after the 4 weeks, organize the collected data in a table or chart. So compare the average height and number of fruits between the control group and the experimental group. Look for patterns or differences in growth and fruit production. So in this step, you're going to show us a chart already, no? Or a graph already. Then we have step 7, draw conclusions. So based on the data analysis, determine whether the use of fertilizer had any significant impact on the growth of the tomato plants. Evaluate if the results support or contradict the initial hypothesis. So, since we are not actually doing the experiment, we cannot right away tell the conclusion. But if we really do the experiment, this experiment, I mean, we really executed it, then we can mention a conclusion here, no? Of course, it should be related to the hypothesis we mentioned earlier, either support the hypothesis or refute the hypothesis. Then step 8, communicate the results. So in this step, create a representation or a research report summarizing the experiment data and conclusions. Share the findings with classmates, teachers, and parents during school science fair or classroom presentation. So I hope it's clear to you. Those are our example. Now it's your turn. No? So you have to apply the steps of a scientific investigation that we discussed a while ago in the following. So scientific investigation 1, title is Investigating the Effect of Different Light Intensities on Plant Growth. Then scientific investigation 2, investigating the effect of different watering frequencies on seed germination. So I give you 10 minutes for scientific investigation 1 and another 10 minutes for scientific investigation 2. I'm sorry. Ambak. Niambak siya. Anyway, you can go back to the video and I mean go back to it and for its title. Anyway, I'll show you the answers later on. So I'm giving you 10 minutes each title to give your answer before I will show you the answers here. So while waiting for your answers for those two scientific investigations, so let's have this conclusion of this topic. We have explored the essential steps of a scientific investigation, and by following this systematic process, scientists can uncover new knowledge, solve problems, and advance our understanding of the world. The scientific investigation process forms the backbone of scientific discovery and help us explore the wonders of the world. In the next chapter, we will dive into the intriguing world of solutions, explore the differences between unsaturated and saturated solutions. Anyway, stay curious and get ready for an exciting journey ahead. So we'll have a lot of classroom activities. So your 20 minutes, 10 minutes for each title will start now. So anyway, you can pause this video if you want to really answer those scientific investigation on your own. So let's proceed to the answer for the scientific investigation 1. Okay, so as you can see, it's a bit smaller because I make it a point na you really need to do your own, no? Anyway, these are our sample answers. So for scientific investigation 1, investigating the effect of different light intensities on plant growth. So step 1, identify the problem or question. So sample problem or question that you can identify based on the title, investigating the effect of different light intensities on plant growth, is how does the intensity of light affect the growth of bean plants? So again, it is not mentioned what plant are we going to investigate, so you can have any other plants. No? So for our example, let's use bean plants. No? So that's the step 1. How does, okay, take note the question is, you can see the question in the title itself. How does the intensity of light affect the growth of the bean plant? So we specified, no? We specify the what plant, no? We cannot just say the plant, no? We have to use a plant, no, in our experiment. That is why we mentioned bean plants. Now, second step, conduct background research. So gather information about the role of light in photosynthesis and plant growth. You consult books, online resources, and science journals for relevant information. So do not just rely on one source of information. We have so many sources of information of this day, no? So we have internet, we have books in the library, we have science journals, and many, what's this? Documentaries, for example. Anyway, step 3, formulate a hypothesis. So our hypothesis, for example, is if bean plants, because we specified again, we specified the plant, the type of plant. If bean plants are exposed to higher light intensity, they will exhibit faster and healthier growth compared to bean plants exposed to lower light intensity. Uh, So because we have mentioned intensity, you can use the high and the low intensity. So that's our step 3, formulate a hypothesis. Now, let's proceed to step 4, design the experiment. So, divide a group of bean plants into 2 equal subgroups. So group A will be placed in a location with high light intensity, such as near a sunny window, and group B will be placed in a location with lower intensity, such as a shaded area. All other factors, including watering and soil, should be consistent for both groups. When you say consistent, the same amount, so that we have a fair test. Then in this type as well, you have to determine, no? So determine the different, the control group and this one, the group A is the experimental group and the group B is the control group, no? Is it? Not applied. No. Anyway, you can have a separate, no, because both are control group. Group A and Group B, shaded area. The other one is sunny. So you can have the one that does not have applied light intensity, which is the control group. Then we have the fifth step, collect data. So data collection. So you have to do your experiment over a period of 4 weeks. Observe and measure the height, the number of leaves, and overall health of the bean plants in each group. Keep a record of your observation. So you can organize your record through a table so that you won't miss a thing, no, in your experiment. Then step 6, analyze the data. So in data analysis, of course, this happened after the experiment. You have to organize the collected data and compare the growth rates, health, and number of leaves of the bean plants in each light intensity condition. Look for any patterns or differences in growth among the groups. If you cannot see any pattern, do another trial, no? And do another trial. At least 3 trials. Then we have step 7, draw conclusions. Conclusions are based on your data analysis. Draw conclusions regarding the research question and hypothesis. Determine whether there is a significant or light intensity has a significant impact on the growth and health of the bean plants. So in this step, you have to go back to your hypothesis. So what's the hypothesis? If bean plants are exposed to higher light intensity, they will exhibit faster and healthier growth compared to bean plants exposed to lower light intensity. So go back to this hypothesis. Then draw your conclusion. Then step 8, communicate the results. So create a research report or presentation summarizing your experiment, data, and conclusions. Share your findings to your classmates, teacher to contribute to the scientific knowledge of plant growth and light intensity. So of course, you can vary these answers here depending if you really perform the experiment. So some of the answers here may be what's this? Varied. So this is just possible answer, no? So this is just a possible answer. Now let's proceed to the second scientific investigation. The title is Investigating the Effect of Different Watering Frequencies on seed germination. Again, scientific investigation 2 title is Investigating the Effect of Different Watering Frequencies on Seed Germination. So we have to specify again what type of seed are we going to study, no? What type of seed or what seed are we going to study? So we have to specify. So let's start with the step 1, identify the problem or question. The problem or question based on the title could be, how does the frequency of watering affect the, so we have to use affect the germination rate, okay, germination rate of, okay, let's have tomato seeds. No? Step 2, conduct background research. So gather information about the germination process and the role of water in seed germination. So use books, online resources, and gardening guides to learn more about seed germination. So you have to as well learn how to do gardening, no? So that you won't, you will be successful in performing this experiment. For step 3, formulate a hypothesis. The hypothesis based on the title could be, if tomato seeds are watered consistently every day, they will exhibit a higher germination rate compared to seeds watered irregularly. When you say irregularly, water today, tomorrow no water. I mean, that's not, it's not watered. Then the following day it's watered. The following day it's not watered. The following day it's not watered. So that's irregular way of watering the tomato seeds, for example. Next is step 4, design the experiment. So divide a group of tomato seeds into 2 equal subgroups. Group A will be watered daily and Group B will be watered every 3 days. All other conditions such as light and temperature should be kept consistent for both groups to have a fair test. No? So that is very important. No? Then step 5, collect data. So data collection. So over a period of 2 weeks. So you are going to perform this experiment over a period of 2 weeks. Observe and count the number of germinated seeds in each group daily. Keep a record of your observations. Then, step 6, analyze the data. So after the experiment, organize the collected data and compare the germination rates of the tomato seeds in each watering frequency condition. Look for any patterns or differences in germination among the groups. Then step 7, draw conclusions. So take note, based on your data analysis, draw conclusions regarding the research question and hypothesis. Determine whether the frequency of watering has had a significant impact on the germination rate of the tomato seeds. So again, you go back to your hypothesis in drawing your conclusion. You could either say that your experiment support your hypothesis or your experiment does not support your hypothesis. Then we have step 8, communicate the results. So create a research report or presentation summarizing your experiment, data and conclusions, no? So share your findings to your classmates and teacher to contribute to the scientific knowledge of seed germination and watering frequency. Again, the answers I've shown on the screen can be varied depending on your experiment, the way you perform the experiment. This is just a hypothetical examples because I really did not have I did not perform yet this experiment, but when we really execute this experiment, we can see, no, the that we can add more answers. We can add more answer to the following steps. Anyway, so it's already what time is it? 11 o'clock in the evening. So I have to rest now. For tomorrow, I'll be assigned in the enrollment area, for the grade 7 students. Anyway, see you and Thank you for watching this video. Bye bye.